what this means for the organization, and I'll spend a little bit more time here, tends to coagulate around how you do talent management. And this was one of the areas that we saw some of the biggest changes. Because whereas for as long as there have been market research departments, you always want at all levels smart and capable people who at best know something about how to do market research and also something about the industry. The way that people are starting to talk about how you hire and how you develop people is starting to change in relationship to these new demands that are being put on market research. And so it tended to lead to a kind of stratified notion that when you're hiring and developing people, you wanted to look for certain kinds of things and not others, or at least concentrate in some areas. And what we've done is kind of group them into these three categories and labeled for the junior level analytical thinkers, for the mid-level critical thinkers, and the senior level strategic thinkers. This will become a little bit more clear. Those are perhaps a useful label for it. But behind all this is this notion that often for market research, as well as for marketing in general, because in pharmaceutical companies it's sometimes not viewed as a worthy destination, it's just a transition point for some talent, that some of this is suggesting that we really do need to think about these things as being much more of a destination, of having a group of skills that are so critical to the organization that they need to be collected and rewarded, sought and developed within those particular areas. So at the junior level, you already need to be thinking about not just how good they are with details and whether they can meet a deadline or not, but the sense of is there a potential for leadership here, even at the junior level, and what would actually constitute the development path that would get them from that junior level to the more senior levels of the organization. At the mid-level, whereas before it was very clearly kind of technical research and analytical skills, market research experience so that you could apply quickly, all of a sudden this is the area that more than before you needed serious problem solvers. And this is where the insight providers, that is somebody who could actually take a research question and understand its connection to the business problem in a deep and comprehensive way. And it's at that level then that the beginning of being able to provide the strategic guidance really takes shape. In one simple way of perhaps thinking about this, a little bit oversimplified perhaps, is the notion that rather than taking just direction from a marketer says find this out for me, it's the market researcher who figures out what would be important about finding out those things and how can I shape or reshape that research so that I can provide better than what's asked because I understand what would be better than what's asked. And that's what I mean by critical thinkers at that level. It's not just taking direction and doing a great job with it, but understanding the connections between the research, the project level work, and the strategic level interests. At the senior level, you can imagine this really needs to be the consulting level work, where internally you need to be functioning at the level of sort of a McKinsey type consultant, where you can speak at the highest levels with the leaders of the business to try to understand where market research can provide more global value. And I mean global there in terms of the organization as well as the scope of business interests. They need the big picture perspective in a way that perhaps has always been the case, but is now more emphatically desirable by the organizations. These are where the phrases of business partners and internal consultants come out most dramatically. Some quick statistics on this that came out of the survey. You can just look at some of the big numbers here. At the senior level, you want industry experience, management experience. At the very top, it's that management experience and critical thinking. At the mid-level, the thing that jumps out is just the market research experience, and at the lower level, that technical research for hiring criteria. When asked about how these need to change, this is where we drew some of the things, and these are just summary remarks that we picked up. That at the junior level, those are the three areas that really rose to the top, and I'll point to that idea about younger college graduate level, with the ability and adaptability to shift in and out of jobs and functions. I mean, it speaks a little bit to not just a technical type, but somebody who is looking for and able to deliver broader, flexible business insight. A mid-level, again, the ability to provide value-added meaning and insight to market research projects. That is, these are not just order takers. These are people who can shape the research for the business interests. And at the senior level, the idea of strategic thinking, of integrating across all audiences, of understanding not just the research issues, but the deep and broad business issues that are driving those kinds of things. Lastly, that idea of a global industry experience, consulting skills, and a mindset for solving problems. Just to dwell for one more minute on the senior leader role, a lot of the things that came back helped to sort of deepen the appreciation of what a critical role this is, and how advanced the set of skills really are. That is, if you're going to ask somebody to move into one of these positions, that last bullet in particular, if you look at the phrase of somebody who can help create a common vision for the organization and inspire people to follow. Something that we might all like in our leadership, but when applied to market research and you think about what that might actually mean, it really is managing the set of relationships with all the stakeholders in the organization at the very highest levels, so that market research has direction and is not just devolving into an order taker.